Hello, everyone. Welcome. Whew. Good morning. Hello. Welcome to Sunday Morning Coffee with Caryn, episode 59. Hi, everyone. Whew. Sun situation. It's bright. I love it. How are you all doing today? I hope you're having a beautiful, beautiful day. Oh, welcome. So, today we are going to be talking about the novel concept that a lot of us have heard before, that thoughts are things. If you've ever read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, this is literally the preface. It's not even like chapter one, it's the preface. So, I want to start honestly by doing something that I've never really done on Sunday Morning Coffee with Caryn, but I've been doing it more with my clients and in other in my own daily practice. So since I really am all about teaching you how to live in within the freedom frequency, how to really live in that pocket of creation and destruction where you are embodying the divine masculine and divine feminine, coming into that holy union, coming into divine union with your own purpose and power, we're going to start things a little bit different this week. So we're going to start by lighting a candle and setting an intention. And our intention is just that the communication is clear and that everything is understood to the level that each one of you are needing it. So some of you, this might seem really elementary, and some of you, this might be brand new. Whatever it is that is going to serve you in your highest good, and that'll be fun and easy and just a great time. So we set the candle, light the candle with that intention, and then we use some incense, lighting it from the candle, not with a lighter, because the candle has the intention infused into it already, right? And we're just going to clear the space. So we're just going to clear whatever you've been doing this morning. Maybe you just woke up, so you're like, oh, I don't really need to clear. That's fine. But there's some of you who have been up for a long time. I know there's some of you who literally stay up. I have people in Australia who will stay up or set an alarm for 2 a.m. Monday morning so that they can be here. So let's just bringing all idea of separation back into unity, combining the left and right hemispheres of the brain. Perfect. So I do that every morning before every client call, before just all of that. So I thought that I would share that with you guys today because it's not something that I've really done before. Ah, yes, as above, so below, as within, so without. Exactly. Thank you, Xavier. So, thoughts are things. This is a concept that is the driving force behind The Secret and the Law of Attraction, which is something that most of my clients, when they come to me, they already have a pretty good basis of understanding in, and they're wondering how to hack that. They're really like, okay, Caryn, you manifest on demand. You obviously have a secret formula that nobody else is learning. What is it that you do to be able to stay within this frequency of freedom, to be able to create miracles in your life that seem damn near impossible, such as losing half of my body weight in 8 weeks by only doing naked mirror mantras, by launching my business at 5 figures, to I have 2 book deals going next year, as well as an album that I've been asked to sing on. There's so many things that happen in my life that are like magic. My life is literally magic. There's no other way to describe it, but it hasn't always been that way, right? It had to come from me, and it had to come to my dedication to be like a shark. Oh, I'm wearing my shark's tooth. To be like a shark that has all these thousands and thousands of teeth, and when one falls out, it like just doesn't matter, right? I had to get to this point where when things don't work out, it's actually because there's something else that's working out in my favor, right? So, so that's what I'm going to teach you today. I'm going to teach you how it is that I've hacked the law of attraction to really understand this idea of thoughts or things in a more applicable way so that you can start putting these applications into your own personal development, into your own personal habits and your daily disciplines, because that's what I teach. I teach you metaphysical daily self-discipline. Discipline meaning to teach, not to punish. Okay? This is I tell one thing that I've been known to say many times, so I'll say it again, is that I'm not here to talk to woo-woo wannabes. I'm here to train energetic Olympians. So if you're ready to be an energetic Olympian, if you're really ready to step up and take these concepts to the level at which they can really be applied and mastered, then you're in the right place. So does that sound like a good idea? Hearts, loves, likes. I love all those things. It lets me know that you guys are really listening because I don't believe the little eye on Facebook and Instagram that tells me how many people are watching. Um Also, I just started today's day 1 of a 7-day water fast for me, so I'm going to be chugging my water, no coffee today. I'm not chugging it, but drinking it. Okay, so thoughts are things. Let's back up. I think, therefore I am. Energetic Olympians. Yes. I think, therefore I am. This is the famous quote from Descartes that helps us to recognize that we are sentient beings, right? We are not like my dog over here that only is capable of, maybe a little bit of understanding. He's able to be trained. We're able to teach him, like, don't pee in the house and make sure you don't like run up on other dogs and come on a call and a command. But that's how dogs have been trained, how their brains are wired after however many thousands of years men and dog have coexisted together, right? Man's best friend. Humans have this ability to be able to think and then think about a thought. Okay? That's what that line really means. I think, therefore I am. Meaning, I can think about my existence and I can think about if I like how my existence is going, and I have the ability to change my thoughts to meet my new reality. Okay? So let's take this back to Carl Jung and his psychology and his idea, the major framework of my entire everything that I teach is that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. So, what that really actually means is that until you take unconscious patterns, patterns that were created from birth through epigenetics, through societal beliefs, all of these things, trauma responses, trauma bonding, all these things that have happened, until you can make those unconscious, automatic thoughts conscious, that unconscious stuff is going to always rule your life. How many of you have set an intention on a new moon and you're like, my intention this month is to blank? And then at the end of the month, when it doesn't happen, you're like, see, my intentions never work out. Anybody? So the reason why this happens is because so many people take an intention and they then create a backup plan because they don't actually believe that it's possible for what it is that they set their intention to occur. And that's because of this belief. It's a belief system, it's a thought pattern that's deeply ingrained that I don't deserve good things. Now, why on earth would we go around asking for good things all the time, wanting good things? I want a good marriage. I want lots of money. I want kids who listen. I want a career that has a sole purpose to it. I want to be of service to others. We say that, our ego says that, our conscious mind says that, and then we're broke. We have shitty marriages. Our kids don't listen to us. Our career is crap. And we never have time to serve ourselves, let alone anybody else. It's because of fundamental thought processes that were created in childhood. They are so deeply ingrained that the only way to bring them to the surface is to actually have hard moments of thinking and therefore being. If I currently have a life that I don't want, but my unconscious thoughts rule my life, technically I do have the life I want. I'm not conscious that that's what I want. Okay. And I know that this stuff that I'm teaching is really deep. And I know that some of you are like, oh my God, what the fuck did I just get myself into? It's cool. I have literally probably like 200 to 300 hours on social media live streams where I talk about these in different ways. I am coming back to basics, honestly. I'm coming back to this basic idea that thoughts are things, and that until you can be consciously aware of all of the thoughts going on in your mind, your life is being run by someone else, by your shadow. I use it very loosely. Um, by your unconscious. So when when becoming an energetic Olympian, when moving from woo woo wannabe to energetic Olympian, you go from unconscious to conscious, and then from conscious to super conscious. So over the rest of the year, actually, the rest of these live streams every week, it's going to be building into the super conscious. So we're starting right here at the base. Thoughts are things. Okay. I think, oh my God, I'm totally screwed. I'm not going to be able to make my mortgage this month. And guess what happens? I don't make my mortgage. No matter how hard I try, no matter how many people I try to sell to, no matter how much I try to save, no matter what's going on, because the only thing that I'm thinking about all the time, I'm waking up, oh my God, I don't have the money for my mortgage. Holy shit, the car just broke down. We need that more. All of these thoughts keep happening, and then the thing occurs, right? And in the law of attraction, what do they have you do? They tell you to say affirmations over and over and over again, and to push all the negative thoughts out. Just if you have a negative thoughts, see it and push it out. Well, the problem with that is that you're not allowing yourself the entirety of the human experience. So again, going back to Carl Jung, I'd rather be a whole person than a good person. So now we have to take the entire concept of thinking and pull it out of the idea of morality and put it instead into the idea of integrity. Again, I'd rather be a whole person than a good person. And until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. We are talking about bringing you into wholeness, into whole life alignment, whole completion in all areas of your life, so that you can be in integrity from a very integrity, not from the moral standpoint of like, oh, good or bad, integrity from a physics standpoint. Am I in integrity? Am I whole and complete? Just as I am, without shame, without judgment, right? If you read The Secret, it's a pretty fucking judgmental book, you guys. It's really judgy. There's a lot of judgment going on in that book. It's the reason why, so many people will pick it up. It's a number one bestseller. It's been read by millions and millions of people around the world. And yet, there is a tiny little fraction of people that read it that actually have success after reading it, because they go around judging their thoughts as good or bad, pushing all the bad ones out, only focusing on the good ones. And when the good things don't happen, there's all these unconscious beliefs that were actually there that needed to be dug out first. That's why shadow work is so important. Shadow work meaning going into the underground, going into the underworld, going into those uncomfortable conversations. Everyone has trauma. Okay, you're not special. I have yet to meet a person that has not had a traumatic experience in their life. And that's because trauma is subjective. And let me give you an example of that. It's subjective in the fact that you can have two women who are raped on the same night by the same person. And one woman will go into a full on victim mindset, go to therapy, possibly commit suicide. And you can have another woman who stands up for herself, brings the guy to court, empowers herself, and starts a foundation to help other women so that they don't get raped. Same scenario, same perpetrator, two different women. Based on their past life experiences, they will take that one experience and decide whether they were victimized or whether this is a chance to grow. Now, was there trauma for the first person, for the second person? Yes, absolutely. I have yet to meet a woman who didn't first begin to fall into the woe is me. But it is the conscious woman who is really able to see, wow, I created this scenario of victimization so that I could know what it's like for all these other women around the world so that I can fucking do something about it, right? I'm not here to sit around and play victims with people. That is not a game that I enjoy playing. There are lots of coaches in the world that would love to help you. There are tons of psychologists in the world that would love to help you. I am not interested in your victim story because a fundamental rule of working with me within the freedom frequency is that there are no victims. There are no victims. No one is victimized because our thoughts are things. We create our reality via our thoughts. Everything is created via our thoughts. So if you grew up in a traumatic way where you were told every day that you were worthless, that you were useless, that you weren't smart, that you weren't funny, that you'd never amount to anything, even as a little baby, maybe you are sick as a tiny little child and there's nothing you can do about this. You are literally an infant taken out of your mother's womb and there's something fundamentally wrong with you. You will imprint that on your brain. You will imprint that belief system into you. And then you go into epigenetics, which tells us that we actually hold on to beliefs for up to 14 generations. 14 generations. A generation is 20 years. So that's 280 years ago. What the hell were we doing 280 years ago? Oh yeah, that's right. Slavery, insane puritanical like degradation of women. All women were slaves. They were all property. Women didn't have the right to vote. None of that. So if you realize that by choosing the path of becoming super conscious, you are literally fighting an uphill battle, but the view from the top is amazing, then you start to look at your thoughts no longer in this idea of good and bad, but you look at them very, very objectively. Do I like this thought? Do I enjoy the feeling that I get when I have this thought? For example, again, the money. Do I enjoy feeling stressed out and worried about not being able to pay my mortgage? Absolutely not. At least my ego doesn't. My ego definitely doesn't like it. But my unconscious thinks it's hot. So there's a book that I recommend it to every single client I have. It's called Existential Kink. It's by Caryn Elliott, PhD. Existential Kink. And she takes this whole idea that we have these unconscious bad thoughts and gives you permission, which I'm giving you, you have permission to enjoy those bad thoughts. Because I think, therefore I am means I am whatever I think. Really, that's what it really means. I think, therefore I am is really I am whatever I think. So if I think I'm fat, if I think I'm lazy, if I think I'm stupid, if I think any of those things, if that's what my internal self talk is, then that's what I'm going to be. And I know this because I was depressed and suicidal from the age of 7. I was overweight until 2 years ago. Like, I was a size 14. I'm now a size 2. I was a massive victim in my life. Everything happened to me. I had been abused as a kid. I was psychologically tortured. I wasn't like I say these things, but you have to please let's rewind. I'm an only child who grew up in the suburbs with a really pretty awesome parents who were still married. But I got yelled at and I got spanked and my dad had a very traumatic childhood. So I was dealing with how does somebody who had a shit childhood then become a good parent, sort of thing. But again, just like the 2 rape victims we just talked about, in my mind, because I had no friends and no cousins and no one my own age to process this with, I was being abused. And it wasn't until the last couple of years that I realized that that was all a story. Everything is a story. You can rewrite the story. That's literally one of the songs that I'm being asked that we're writing for this album is she's in a story again. No, she can't help it. She can't find the words. because you can't help how you think already. There's no judgment, okay? I teach you all these things to give you freedom, to give you the ability to make new choices, to pick up the pen and rewrite the story. Rewrite the story, girl. You are the author, you have the pen. When you realize that your thoughts are things, when you realize really on a fundamental level that every time you have a bad thought and all you do is throw it away and then you repeat an affirmation, you haven't actually dealt with the bad thought. It's still there. And again, bad, very loosely worded, but trying to help you guys understand this concept. When you have a bad thought and you're like, oh no, wait, hold on, the secret, it told me that I'm supposed to only think good things. You're not addressing this thought, this belief, this inner belief system that you have about yourself, and you're just pushing it down. And the more you push those down, the more they're going to push their way back up because all they want is to be recognized and noticed. So, what existential kink is a practice to be able to take thoughts like, oh my God, I can't pay my mortgage, and instead be like, oh my God, I can't pay my mortgage this month. I am such a bad girl. I went and I spent all of my mortgage money on shoes and food, and oh, there was that cute guy, and I bought him dinner. Yeah, oh my God. Yes. Oh, not having money, not having any idea where money's gonna come. Oh, I love it. And you are serious. Like, I'm telling you this, guys, my heart is fluttering, my pussy's getting wet. Like, this is what I'm talking about. You take the taboo and shine it in the light. The only way you're going to change your life is by not shoving more things down a trap door, which is what my husband refers to it as. He's got the trap door of all of his childhood traumas that he just shoves everything into. Um, and that's the stuff that you start with therapists. But the thing about therapists that I've noticed, at least, that are different from life coaches, they are amazing at their job. I have so much respect for therapists, is that the entire like psychoanalysis like line of thought for the most part is a way to give you take the facts of your life and turn them into excuses, right? So once I went to therapy and I started telling her about my dad and about how my son was born on the day that the housing market collapsed in 2008, and how I had always been picked on because I was tall and I had big boobs and I was always smarter than the other kids, she helped me to see, well, you do this because of you act this way because of this thing, which was super helpful until that story became my excuse to not grow and to not change and to not be better. And I was still depressed. I was still anxious. I still had fibromyalgia, PTSD, which is fibromyalgia is PTSD that's been physicalized. Uh, People don't realize how much our we're going to be talking about this next week, the four bodies, but how much your mental body and emotional body actually taxes your physical body. So if you have lived in a victim story your whole life, your body will actually will victimize you, and that's where all these autoimmune disease, really, like even cancer, they are all things that can be worked with the mind. Hello, love. um Okay, I'm going to take a sip of water and ask if anyone has questions while I also check Instagram, which is just right here. Hello, everyone, my loves. Do you guys have any questions so far? Any of this not landing? Is it all landing? Or your mind's just blown and you're trying to clean them up off the back of the wall? Okay. So, how can you take practical, now that we've talked about this, just hopped on. Okay, Carla, you're good. You're a good girl. Um, Got the time zone wrong. No worries, love. Love the background and incense. Oh, yay. Yes, my Hindu gods. Okay, so thoughts are things. Thoughts are things. All of your thoughts are things. So all of the unconscious thoughts that you have are running your life. One of the axioms of existential kinks, which is my favorite, is having is evidence of wanting. So again, I can't pay my mortgage. That means that some part of me must not want to pay my mortgage. I can pay my mortgage. I'm just giving you guys an example. It's a very easy, practical example. I know that a lot of people have money issues, right? When you're sitting there thinking, okay, I have to sit here and be positive all the time, like the law of attraction says, and you're not giving your negative thoughts a voice, they're going to grip you harder. And that is the thing that is the biggest disservice from The Secret, honestly, I believe. And even Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Because it's not really explained that you have to be willing to go deep, deep, deep into your psyche. And this is why the conscious resources of therapy and trauma response and a lot of those amazing, awesome tools, NLP, stuff like that, can really only take you so far. They can really only get you to this point where you realize that okay, I have these thoughts, okay, I have, this is my life, right? Like I said, my therapist gave me a reason why I acted the way I did. But it was me going that extra step further into the superconscious by asking the question, what if I could be different? What if this doesn't have to be my story anymore? What if I could just decide that what happened when I was a kid is what happened when I was a kid because I chose it as this lifetime? And while I can't change what happened, I can change how I feel about it. There's that word feeling. That is the hack. Okay? Yes, 27 minutes in, I have now given you the hack to the law of attraction. How do you want to feel? Recently, I had pictures taken, and I've shown you guys some of them, and those are just like a couple. It is taking all of my self restraint to not just like put them up into a photo album, but they're my branding for the next couple of months, so I have to really be smart about it. And while I was speaking to the photographer, we were having conversations about frequency and attraction and manifestation because that's my life. And he's like, "Oh, it's the couch effect." I was like, "What?" And when he was in his 20s, he told his neighbors that he wanted a new couch. And his neighbor was like, "You're crazy, dude. You don't have money to buy a new couch. Like, that couch is fine. How are you going to get a new couch?" And the photographer was like, "No, no, I'm getting a new couch. Just watch." So he takes his couch and he moves it out onto the street with a free sign. And his neighbor's like, "Dude, what are you doing? You're not going to have a couch. You're not just going to get a couch. Like, you want a nice new couch that's going to cost some coin, and you don't have that. What the hell are you doing?" And the guy's like, "No, I'm good. Like, I'll be fine." And he goes back into his apartment and he starts thinking about what the couch is going to be. But instead of, "Oh, I want a blue satin couch and I want this and it's going to be this big," he thinks about instead how it's going to feel when he comes home and there's a brand new couch sitting in his living room, and how it's going to feel to sit down on this nice couch that's not nasty and filled with stains and breaking apart in the pleather. And he starts thinking about that. And within a couple of days, I don't remember how many, it was really short, it wasn't even a whole week, a friend that he hadn't spoken to in years calls him up and says, "Hey, we're remodeling the house. My wife doesn't want the current couch that we have because it doesn't go with the remodel. Do you need a couch?" The couch that they had was pretty much fucking brand new compared to the photographer's that he had been using that he put on the curb that someone came and hauled away. Got a new couch because he felt into it. Same guy. This guy is not someone that has a ton of money. He charged way undercharges. In fact, we spent most of the time with me trying to convince him to increase his prices, because that's one of the big things that I do with the women that I work with, is get them to really see their value by owning their weird and increasing their prices, because you're actually not being able to create the change you want or have the clients you want because you're marketing to the people that don't understand you. You need to be up here. You are so fucking brilliant and so beautiful and so smart that your prices of whatever this is that you're struggling with, it's not because your prices are too high here. It's because they're too low and the people you're meant to work with are actually up here. That's for another day. That's another part of the freedom frequency, is being able to follow that line, being able to follow the pitch, being able to see the story of the song. Same photographer. Before he got into photography, I really want to be a photographer, but like I don't have the money to be able to go out and buy those cameras. Like, no way. So every day when he would go to bed, he would go to sleep and he would imagine what it would feel like to have his photo equipment sitting in his room. What would it feel like to have his camera sitting next to his bed? Again, going online, sort of like looking at kind of the ones that he wants, but not being super dead set on it has to be a Nikon 16, blah, 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 with lenses. I don't fucking understand photography. But he wasn't all super specific, right? It was just the feeling of having a nice camera equipment, good editing, all of that. How do you want to feel? And he got it all, by the way, obviously, because he's a photographer now. And he got them at good prices, or they were given to him as gifts. That's what the law of attraction, what The Secret is trying to tell you. But nowhere in the whole damn book did I ever see them talk about the feeling part, because they keep the whole thing very heady, very mental, and very judgy when it comes to the negative things, right? We want to really start feeling into what it feels like to be free. What does freedom mean to you? It's a very interesting thing to be the person who teaches you how to be free, because it's a completely subjective idea, just like abuse is and trauma. As we talked about before, two women can have the exact same experience. One is going to experience it as a totally traumatic event that throws her into a victim spiral and then ends up costing her life. And one of them is going to experience that event, feel the trauma, be able to process it, and use it to be empowered. That's a choice. And it has to do with how that woman wants to feel. One woman wants to feel like a victim. One woman knows that she's going to get attention by being victimized. This doesn't need to be consciously, by the way. This is mostly actually all unconscious that's occurring. That she's going to get attention for being victimized, that she's going to be able to get away with using it as an excuse, that she's going to be able um, to not show up in her life because of this one bad thing that happened to her. Probably based on a whole lot of other bad shit that happened to her, to be honest. And the other woman is going to take that exact same scenario, and she's probably a conscious woman, let's be honest, is going to say, you know what? I don't want to be a victim. I want to empower women. I want there to be no rapists. I want to be a change. I want to be the change I want to see in the world. And she's going to have that drive. She's going to have the ability to let go of the trauma, let go of the story, let go of the victimhood, and instead turn into a warrior. Because the opposite side of victim is warrior. And guess what? Martyrdom, being a martyr, being the I'm going to go save the planet, is not empowerment. It's still victimhood, because you're saying that other people are victims. I'm going to be a martyr so that I can go save you, is still victim consciousness. A warrior is out to change the planet. An energetic Olympian is out to change the world, not for ego, not for fame, not for fortune, but because they see a fundamental flaw in the system and they will do whatever it takes, no matter what, to correct that flaw. Not because the world needs to be saving, but because it's their sole purpose to do it. Okay, there's some comments, so I'm gonna catch up. Okay. I was just thinking about that with my cacao work. I've spent about 10 hours writing the astro weather report for the Scorpio. 10 hours, Carla? And you're just gonna send that out? Also seeing that my kinky ass must love being sexually frustrated and only seems to attract muggles. Right. And Carla, like, we met in wealth, so you know how to work the EK on that. Um, the 10 hours of writing the astro weather report for Scorpio season, though, and I know how much you charge for your cacao ceremonies. Girl, I would give them like the first 2 pages of that and then tell them that they can pay an extra fee to get the rest of it, to be honest. Like, if you can synopsis it for the cacao people to like a 1 pager, 2 pages, and then be like, for the full report, you can pay an extra whatever. That's insane. Think about that hourly. I charge $1,000 an hour. You just said that you are literally blowing my mind right now. I didn't always. I started out charging $40 an hour for massage 12 years ago. And now I have a structural alignment business where I do all of my this work, but also with my clients, and that's $1,000 an hour. So, yes, Carla, we should talk. Trista, I've been taking your concept of feeling freedom into my morning journaling as if my desires are already happening. Yes. So that is a huge thing. That would be a great thing that you can add to your daily practice. I'm going to give you guys a couple of practical things and then I'm going to go because I don't want to make this too much harder. It's a pretty intense one. This is going to be one of those ones that you want to watch a couple of times to really get to it because I talked about some of those really base things, but when you've never heard them before, they don't seem basic. um so writing things as I am or I have instead of I want or I wish or I right because we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, wants versus need or wants and needs have like the energy. Even just like having the desire or the requirements, everything is in the now. We're going to be talking more and more about the power of now also with freedom because freedom is a feeling. Like you can have freedom right now even if you're in the middle of it's how any woman who's been in an abusive relationship has actually gotten out is by believing that she's free now and then being able to move out of it within the physical. So by saying I have freedom, I have whatever it is that you desire or require from your life to have that feeling of freedom. When you do your morning journaling, you write it in the present tense and it makes it more real and you're retraining your brain, you're rewriting the neural pathways, which we didn't even talk about. So the neural pathways of your brain are the reason why it seems like it's so hard to get out of ruts. And especially the older you are. So the closer you get to after the age of 41, it's really, really, really hard to rewire your brain. It's much more difficult. So the younger you are, which is why I stress so much that people teach this to their children, especially if you became conscious after you had children, you need to go back and help reprogram the shit that you would have programmed into them before you were conscious. No judgment. I did it. I was a screamer. I was a yeller. I would throw shit. That was the huge catalyst for me to actually become a super conscious parent, even a conscious parent. I was a very unconscious person 3 years ago. 3 years, guys. Yeah, I know that some people are like, oh my God, 3 years is so long, but I know people who have been on this path for 30 years that come and speak, and they're my clients because the way that I teach it is so succinct and just gets straight to it. I'm a very not fluffy, straight to the point, blunt bitch. And that's because I'm here to change the planet and I don't have time for fluff. I ain't about that fluff and buff life, as I would say to my massage clients. So the neural pathways. So every time you think a thought when you're a little kid and you don't know how to walk yet, you have to like you're really thinking about how to walk. Like your brain is like, oh my fuck, how do I walk? How do I walk? And then eventually you learn to walk and those pathways are just wired together. The neurons fire enough times together that a myelin sheath, a sheath of collagen and elastin, is wrapped around those specific myelins, those specific neurons, and wrap them together so that they're wired together to make it almost instantaneous, right? Something like 15 years of diving in 40. Yeah, but you're doing so great, Trista. Even the things that we've talked about in the last few months, I've seen so much improvement. Like, that's what I mean. You can really apply these concepts when you have relentless focus and discipline because you're a fucking energetic warrior, not a woo woo wannabe, right? Do you guys like that's literally the difference? The literal difference here is just, are you going to be a woo-woo wannabe? Are you going to just want to change your life? Are you just going to want things to be different? Are you just going to hope and pray and think good thoughts and say your mantras a couple of times and eat vegan and whatever and just wonder why things aren't working out for you? Or are you going to have the relentless focus and discipline of an Olympian because you radically trust that you are here to change the fucking planet? Because if you're the latter, then you should be talking to me and we should be getting you into your freedom frequency shift so that you have that actual like sound, the sound of your freedom to listen to every day. And the entire protocol to go through. Carla's gone through hers, she knows. When you can actually feel freedom, then you can go back into any time in your life and use the super conscious resources such as time travel and astral projection and channeling and um, all of those things to completely rewrite your story and change the way your neurons are wired. You can go back to any trauma point in your life and instead of choosing victim, choose warrior and rewrite it. You get to rewrite the story. You are the one that has the pen. I really I gotta call my person and get this song recorded because it's like, he's out of town, but yep, going through the protocol until Halloween. Yes, and she's been relentless, right? There are other people who got their sessions, and I go and I look on their Instagram or their Facebook. Nothing has changed. Some things have gotten worse, actually. And when I check in and ask them what's going on, I either get ghosted, as in they just don't fucking reply to me, or they say, oh, well, I just didn't feel like it. Oh, okay. That's woo woo wannabe shit. Oh, well, Spirit just told me not to. Spirit guided you to get the protocol. You should do the fucking protocol all the way through. You invest that sort of cash into your freedom. Why on earth would you not do it? It's because they don't have the like they don't have the relentless focus and discipline. They don't, you have to be relentless. This is an all day, everyday job. A thought comes into your head. Oh my God, this thought just came into my head. How do I feel right now? Not good. Okay, so why do I care about this thought? Why does it matter? Why does that matter? Oh, okay. And you start digging and you go through the what if game and you go through all of the existential kink and you go through all the other tools that I teach you. There's a reason why I have a, and then you come up the other side and you're like, oh, actually, I'm God. Actually, I choose to feel freedom instead in this moment. Actually, I'm choosing a different story. And I know that I say this like, oh, it's just so easy. It's not. Being an Olympian is not easy. But guess what? I'm going to find it and I'm going to post it today. There is Sam, what is her name? She's a comedian. Anyway, she has a show. And she and her correspondents on her show, Samantha Bee, during the whole COVID thing, during the lockdown, like intense lockdown in the spring, she had her correspondents do Zoom calls with Olympians that were no longer going to be competing because the 2020 Olympics were canceled, right? And I remember watching it laughing my ass off because the Olympians were talking about the things that I talk about. Oh, well, I'm just making sure that I'm staying in a really good headspace. I'm making sure that I'm still training, even however I can, even if I can't get there. I'm making sure that I'm still in the feeling of competition, even though I know that everything's been pushed. So I'm going to post it on Facebook and Instagram. I'll share it to you guys too. It's like a 5 minute little thing. And you can see the correspondence being like, what? You're doing what? And you're, huh? And that's when I realized, like, that's what I do. I train energetic Olympians. There are tons and tons and tons of coaches out there that'll train you to be a woo woo wannabe, and you'll get pretty far. I know lots of people that make 5 figures a month doing the woo woo wannabe shit, but they're not changing the planet. They're not having giant goals like becoming president of the United States or ending world hunger or getting off planet and exploring the deep beyond. They're not looking at the systemic issues of our planet and thinking, how can I change and fix that? Not because I need to save the world, but because it's my divine mission to do it. How can I be the example and the epitome of what it's like to be in a constant stream of miracles? Those aren't the thoughts that they're having. They're having thoughts of, well, at least I don't think the way I used to. At least I'm making this much money. At least I'm not just in survival mode anymore. And that's great. Not every person is made to be an Olympian. We all know that. There's tons of people out there playing recreational soccer, and only a very few amount of them that are winning the World Cup. But I think the people that are winning the World Cup feel a lot more free, honestly, and have a lot more freedom and a lot more abilities to be free and to make other choices, to make choices than those who are just playing rec soccer. Yes. Okay. So practical. What recap? Thoughts are things. It doesn't matter. Stop treating your thoughts with this idea of morality and instead integrity. Am I in integrity with my ideal of freedom? If not, let's dig out those thoughts and look at them and decide if we want to have different belief systems, different patterns to it. Start writing your desires and requirements in a current state, so the I am and I have sort of things, instead of I wish or I want or I would like to or it would be nice if. and and live your, like, you have to live your truth, you have to visualize your truth, and you have to speak your truth every single day with relentless focus and discipline. Relentless, guys. I know it sounds hard, and it is hard sometimes, and it's harder when you're in the beginning of it, because I remember 2 years ago being like, no, I'm doing it, I promise I'm doing it, why aren't I getting the results? And it was because I was still so result driven. I wanted the money, I wanted the clients, I wanted the whatever. And as soon as I dropped all of that shit and instead, do you know what I want? Desire, require more than anything is to be free. I want to be free to be me. I want to be free like a flower or a leaf in the breeze. I want to be free to fly high. I want to be free to sink into my depths with non judgment, with non attachment to the outcome. To know that everything is always working out for me, even when on the outside it doesn't seem like it is. And I tapped into that feeling. And that's when it started getting easier. Just like hiking the mountain I hike every morning. It used to take me almost damn near 2 hours to reach the peak. And now it takes me 55 minutes if I'm busting ass. And the better part is that I don't care if I reach the peak. It's awesome on the days that I do. I feel so good and so accomplished, and I don't feel exhausted and worn out and like I'm gonna die. I walked to the peak 4 times this week. It was crazy cool. But then the last 3 days I haven't. And that's fine. I'm not judging myself. I'm not beating myself up for not doing it. Right? So stop beating yourself up when you don't, and just recognize, oh, I've slipped and I got to get back on that horse. Oh, I've fallen a little bit. I'm going to get back on. I'm going to keep going. Because that's the difference between them. I think maybe next week that's what we'll talk about, is the difference between an energetic Olympian and a woo-woo wannabe. And then in the meantime, I'm still finishing the sales page, you guys. I know that a few of you have reached out to me about it. I'm in the middle of a giant rebrand, so my website designer is doing things for me. But if you're interested in the freedom frequency shift, this is a protocol that consists of a pre-session survey. So I find out everything that's going on with you, with your ascension symptoms, with your personal life, with your goals, your aspirations, all of that stuff. You get that first. It's a really in-depth survey. It'll already start your mind thinking about things that are going on. Then you have a 75-minute breakthrough session with me that includes really digging into some of these more rooted belief systems and cracking them open, as well as a vocal toning frequency, uh, essentially song. So So one of my gifts is the ability to heal with my voice. So just speaking, just talking, just the reason why I do lives every week for free is because I know that I have that ability to just heal with my voice. But what happens is that we have the conversation, we do the breakthrough session, and at the end of the session, I tap into your higher self, the one that knows exactly where you're supposed to be in the world, the one that knows your divine mission, the one that's making sure that your life is going the way that is laid out by your own standards when you came to this planet to live out this life, even though you might have fallen away from hearing that voice yourself. I tap into it and do vocal toning, or some people might call it light language or speaking in tongues. I call it dragon tongue because a lot of the energy that I work with is Kundalini energy or dragon energy. Um, and I sing this song and do the toning, and then you hear it. So it's like a meditation that you get at the end. And then you listen to that meditation for a certain amount of time, anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months. Honestly, I've been trying to regulate it so my case studies can be more on point. So it's been about 28 days for the last few people that have gotten it. Just because as I get more solid in my integrity of how I'm doing it, the sessions themselves are shifting so that I can put all these things into the case studies, right? That's what I want. I want to be able to show the world that frequencies and light and sound are the basis of everything we're created from, and which is what we talked about a couple of days ago or 2 weeks ago with the freedom frequency when we were talking about just light and sound in general, just frequencies, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of life. So you receive that protocol, you listen to it every day for however long, um, and then you get a post protocol survey. You also get a 2 week follow up check in where we find out what's going on. At that point, a lot of people at that point, that's when they jump into my 6 month one on one bespoke coaching. And that includes, all sorts of other things that we can talk about. The freedom frequency session is the prerequisite to work with me one on one. So I am an extremely powerful transformational guide. The work that I do is extremely disruptive in the best way possible because the only way to change is to have cognitive dissonance. You have to have something that like slaps you in the face and breaks the cycle so that you can then choose something new. And because of that, I don't work with anyone who hasn't gone through the freedom frequency shift as a one on one client. I'm also taking, um, next year is going to be really busy for me with hopefully traveling more, doing the album, possibly being on tour for the album, doing the books. I also have 3 kids that I homeschool, running for office, you know, changing the planet, changing the planet. And then after that, you also get a post session survey. So this is where the case study comes in. So you get a very similar session survey to the first survey you get, where we ask very similar questions and you can actually see it. So there are people that have had lifelong IBS issues that were gone afterwards. They had back pain that had from a childhood injury that was gone. Absolutely no motivation to work at all, and then making 10 20K months within a couple of weeks, um, charging $10,000 for clients, and by the end of their protocol they're charging $100,000 for clients, being in relationships that were just not serving them and finally having the ability to leave them and not being like totally lost and scared and afraid. The list goes on and on and on. These are life-changing sessions, they're life-changing protocols. I'm not here to fuck around. Clearly, if I'm telling you that I train energetic Olympians, I have to be to that standard myself. And the thing about being a coach is, especially a coach for Olympians, is that the Olympic athletes will tell you that they fucking hate their coach. All the time they're getting into the ice back and they're like, fuck you. And yet, every time when you watch the Olympics, when they win the gold medal, the very first person that athlete is going to go hug is their coach. Is their coach, because their coach could see the potential even when they couldn't. And the coach knew exactly what way to push them to get that full potential. That's what I see in all of you, every single one of you. Whether you show up only for my weekly live streams that you get for free, or all of the other hundreds of videos that I have for free, or other free resources, whether you come in and get a frequency protocol and never do anything again, or you come into one of my high-end coaching packages for, the one-on-one things that I do, my 6 or 12-month packages. I can see that potential for freedom because I see it in the planet. My goal is to have a completely free planet with justice and liberty for all beings on earth, to be completely liberated from the illusion of suffering, to be liberated from this idea that 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 you are somehow victim to your life, when in reality, I think therefore I am. You only exist because of your thoughts. The second you die, everything goes away. You become one with unity consciousness again. You no longer are you. You go back to the higher self that chose this life. The thing about the Godhead is, the thing about life itself is that life is God's drama. You go into any mythology and you're going to find stories of gods who forced themselves to forget that they were God just for fun, because when you've been eternal and blissed out for millennia, why not get kinky with it and convince yourself that you're not actually God, but you are. And you have the ability to be free. You have the ability to fly like an eagle in the sky. You have the ability to go into the depths of the underworld and come out on the other side. You have the ability to be whole and complete. You already are. Right here, right now, listening to me. You are whole. You are complete. You are perfect. Everything is always working out for you, even if it doesn't seem like it. Oh, thank you so much. Yes, album, Carla. Album. That's the thing that's happening. Okay. I love you all. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I will see you all next week. The lighting is totally fucked. Sorry, you guys. And we'll figure out. We'll see where spirit leads on what we're going to be talking about specifically next week. I have a bunch of topics planned out through the end of the year, but I'm not getting too rigid with it. So if you guys have any questions, please DM me. If you're interested in the Freedom Frequency session, please reach out to me. I can send you the payment link for it, just because my sales page is actually not all the way up yet, so I can't link it yet. I will, as soon as it's up, I'll come back to the videos and link it there, and it'll be the link in my profile. So I love you all. Have such a beautiful Sunday.